Welcome back, DPReview TV viewers. It's Chris Nichols here, and I'm joined by
Jordan Drake.
And we have two very exciting cameras because this is probably the most exciting thing Canon's come out with in a long time.
A decade, I would say.
Yes, of course, we were talking about the Canon R5 and the R6. And
yes.
Before we go on further on the video, I just want you guys to know we do have a pre-production R5, which we're going to be playing with, but we do have a full production R6, so we're going to be doing a full review on that.
Stay tuned for that.
What we want to do today is kind of talk about things that you might have missed in the launch, things that we think are interesting changes or significant surprises.
Yeah, if you go to DPReview.com right now, they've got all the specs there, a lot of the analysis comparing the two models, but here's a few things that kind of jumped out to us that we think you might find interesting.
It's getting a little windy and a little crazy out here. There's a thunderstorm about 5 minutes away, so if we get struck by lightning, well, that video will probably go viral. But while we're on the topic of electricity and power, let's talk about battery life. Now, we do have a brand new battery, very similar form factor to the LP6, but it's a new one. With the R5, with that 5.76 million dot EVF at 120 frames per second refresh rate, we're only getting about 220 shots. Not great. The R6 can improve that a little bit with its 3.78 million dot EVF at 120 frames per second. You get 250 shots. Keep in mind, you can drop the refresh rate on both screens down to about 60 frames per second. That'll give you more battery life, or maybe look at getting a battery grip, getting extra batteries in there. It'll balance the big RF lenses nicely.
All right, let's lead with the thing in video I was most curious about, and that is the performance of the IBIS. We're very impressed with it for stills, but what I was delighted to see is that this does a great job of not fighting you when you're trying to do a deliberate pan or a deliberate tilt like a lot of the other cameras out there. This is like a Panasonic or Olympus, floats wonderfully. I can't wait to shoot handheld video with this thing.
And when it comes to the top plate on these cameras, there's a bit of a difference. Now, the EOS R5 has a very similar top plate to the EOS R. We've got a top LCD panel, which I know a lot of you love. We don't have a traditional mode dial. Instead, we have the mode button inside the back dial, again, like the EOS R, and I actually personally prefer that. However, if you really want a traditional mode dial, the R6 has that. Of course, it does forego the top LCD. The best part, though, both of these cameras, they listened to us and are complaining, and they got rid of the multifunction bar.
Okay, we got to talk about this. Now, yes, with the EOS R5, there is no crop in 8K or 4K. It's full frame readout, but if you grab the R6, there is a crop. Don't worry, it's a minor crop. It's not like the craziness on the EOS R. It is a 1.07 crop, so very manageable, but you should be aware that it is there.
So the R5 and the R6 are at very different price points. What I do like is that we have a lot of technology that's exactly the same on both cameras. And one of our favorite standouts is the new Canon Dual Pixel AF version 2. Now, one of our favorite things about the 1DX3 was using this Dual Pixel AF2 autofocus off the back LCD panel. In fact, we almost never used the optical viewfinder if we could help it, because the hit rate was very good. Now, on the R5 and R6, you get it regardless which camera you're using. It works the exact same, and it's very effective. And the only thing I want to point out is you still do, unfortunately, if you want the tracking to start with your focusing point, so you get to choose, have to turn that on in the menus. It's not on by default.
Now, the EOS R5 does seem to be the video flagship. It's got tons of different compression options. You've got RAW, you've got all-eye compression, IPB compression. However, if you jump over to the EOS R6, you're getting exclusively IPB motion compressed video recording. Now, that does keep the files fairly small. These are big files, but you should be aware it's going to be a little bit harder on your computer. And if there's tons of motion in the frame, you might see a small degradation. But because of these high data rates, I don't think that's going to be much of a problem.
Now, Canon Dual Pixel RAW, this was a feature that was really much maligned back on the older SLRs that incorporated it. What it basically let you do was engage a separate RAW mode. You have to choose to use it, and then you could very slightly micro adjust your autofocus. It was so slight as to basically be pointless, all right? Now, the EOS R5 does have this Dual Pixel RAW feature. Do I want to turn it on? Well, they have added two new features to that micro adjust focus. They've now added the ability to change the clarity of the background, almost like a bokeh defocus kind of control. And they've added another feature where I can actually change lighting direction on people's faces. And that sounds kind of interesting. Now, again, remember, you have to choose to engage this, but once you do, you can then go in post, for example, and you can try any of these three features and see if you like them. I'm not saying that these new features are any good or that they're going to work well, but I'm excited to try it when we get a full production R5.
These are outstanding cameras for video, it looks like. I can't wait to go shoot with them, but I do have to finally mention that there is micro HDMI ports on these cameras. Now, I thought mini was bad on the previous EOS R cameras, but This is frustrating. I know I'm going to bend things, but hey, let's remember, these are much more capable internal recording cameras, so I'm probably not going to have to pull out that external recorder very often, which is good because the micro HDMI port will break if I do.
Okay, so it actually has started raining. We got to wrap things up quick.
Yeah, unlike the R5 and 6, our lighting gear is not weather sealed.
No, it will explode. So let's wrap this up quick. I mean, yeah, there are some things that we're a little concerned about, things that maybe aren't super exciting, like the battery life and like the crop and stuff. But the fact of the matter is we are very excited about these products. They look like pretty serious products. We're going to test that R6 very soon. You're going to shoot on R5?
I'm going to shoot the video on an R5, so you'll be able to take a look at some of that footage, grade it out of the camera. It's really pouring, so we got to go, guys. Don't forget Twitter, Instagram, and we will see you all soon with all kinds of just bags of Canon content.
See you soon.